one of the biggest headaches of being a business owner, and a bad employee can fuck up so much and make life so hard. Being a real estate agent is stressful. Being an agency owner, I'm going to put it out there, it's more stressful. I was a real estate agency high performer for an LJ Hooker franchise office in Brisbane for roughly 10 years. And near the end of my time there, when I had decided, right, I'm not going to stay here anymore. This isn't the ship I want to be on. And I decided I'm going to go out on my own. Agents, welcome to the Get Keen podcast, your #1 destination for learning how to get the most out of your real estate career. I'm Dan Lee, founder of Plum Property, one of Queensland's largest independent real estate offices, and Plum Partners, where we've helped dozens of agents create, run and grow their very own agencies. On Get Keen, I chat to high-performing agents, principals, and agency owners, so you have the tools, strategies, and insights to grow your business and live the best life for yourself and your family. Now let's get keen. Here we are. We're getting keen. Let's have a chat about my worst moments as a real estate business owner. Sounds fantastic being a business owner. Wow, you're going to earn so much more money. Everyone's going to look at you and go, look how successful he is. He owns a business. Let me tell you something. It ain't all roses, baby. There's hard times. Probably more hard times than good times, especially in the beginning. And I'm going to tell you about some of my hardest times as a real estate business agency owner, just to remind myself, take me back, and to put things into a little bit of perspective that things don't always go as planned. You know, life is full of surprises. A lot of them are bad surprises, and you never know when you're going to get slapped in the face by God and he's going to say, handle that, mate. Have a go. So I know being a real estate agent is stressful. Being an agency owner, I'm going to put it out there, it's more stressful. There's more hats to wear. There's more problems that can go on. There's more people that can sue you. There's more people you need to keep happy. There's more weight on your shoulders. You're carrying all the risk, okay? There is a lot of extra stresses or responsibilities that come with owning a business. But it's also awesome. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm glad I'm a business owner. I'm glad I'm able to help people every day, and I love it. So I'm not putting you off, but I'm going to tell you about some of my hard times as a real estate agent. I'll tell you about the first one, and it came up right at the start of me opening my agency, Plum Property, back in 2016. So, to give you a little context, if you didn't know, I was a real estate agency high performer for an LJ Hooker franchise office in Brisbane for roughly 10 years. And near the end of my time there, when I had decided, right, I'm not going to stay here anymore. This isn't the ship I want to be on. And I decided I'm going to go out on my own. Well, I started putting things into plan, and I started to talk to different agents and things like that and tell them what I was going to do, which was, I'm going to go start my own agency, and this is what it's going to be. And would you like to come on me with this journey? It's going to be awesome. And I managed to rustle up 2 agents right before I had opened who said, Dan, we're in. I'm on board. And I was like, you little beauty, right? Because how good is that, starting my agency with 2 other agents that were already established. So not associates or new people that I was going to have to train, like 2 agents that had been selling for years, had a reputation, had an area, they were already earning a good income, and I had worked out with them the split they were going to be on and, you know, what the company was going to offer them. They were in agreement. I had verbal agreement from these 2 agents. They were coming with me. So I was going to leave my agency and start this agency with me, selling agent principal, and 2 other agents. How good is that? We can't fail, right? And I had already budgeted in the amount of income that we were likely to earn based on their previous sales data and based on my previous sales data. So I'd worked out the numbers like, okay, in the first year, we should earn this amount of revenue. And after their splits, there's this much profit. And here's my expenses. I was going to be absolutely fine. I was going to be making profit. in my head, and we were going to go off with a bang because it wasn't going to be just me doing it all on my own. I was going to have these other two agents in the same area, like different suburbs were surrounding me, with more signboards, more advertising, just more of everything. So the brand was going to start strong, right? And weeks are leading up, and I'm talking to these agents, and that, yep, they're on board. Yep, this is happening. And the week before, I was about to open the agency. And I'll tell you what, the agency was just going to be starting off in an apartment because I didn't have the budget to go and like get a big commercial premises, and there was only a few of us, and I thought, hey, we'll just start in the apartment. It's fine. We just need an internet connection, a phone, computers. We can do everything there. And they were on board with this, right? And a week out, one of the agents called me and he said, Dan, I need to have a chat with you. Oh my God, I instantly knew what he was going to tell me. I said, what is it, mate? And he said, I'm not going to come with you to the agency. Oh, my heart sank. Oh my God, what were the reasons? I tried to talk him around. He told me he was just a bit worried. He got advice from his accountant that he shouldn't be joining the agency when it's so small. It didn't have any brand presence. How do you even know that this Daniel Lee's going to be a good business owner? It's about you should stay where you are. And so that agent decided, I'm just going to stay put where I am, and I'm not coming. So, that was such a brutal phone call. You know that feeling of like a potential listing, an owner calls you and says, I'm sorry, I gave it to another agent. You're like, oh, God, that hurts. Times that by 10. That was the feeling, all right? It was bad. I hung up the phone. Oh my gosh, I've just lost this agent. Oh, should I tell the other guy? I didn't even tell the other guy that was coming because I didn't want him to start worrying or anything. So I was like, okay, well, there's still me and this other guy. We'll do it. We'll be right. And so we're 6 days out and plans are in place. I was going to leave on Sunday, and on the Thursday before the Sunday, the other guy calls me and he goes, Dan, I need to have a chat with you. Oh my God, my heart sank. I knew exactly what was happening. I said, mate, don't tell me you're not coming. And he said, bro, I'm so sorry. I'm just not comfortable coming. Like, I've decided to go to another agency instead. Oh my goodness, I just lost the two people that were going to join this business with me on day one. This had been planned for months, and it's all gone out the door, and now it's just me. And it's Thursday, and I'm supposed to be handing in my resignation the next day, and then packing up my shit on the weekend and starting my business on the Monday. And I couldn't sleep that night. I was like, what the hell? All my budgets are all effed up. It's just going to be me. Am I going to be okay? But I was so far down the road. And I said, you know what? This is a test for me. This was meant to happen. This was always going to happen. And if I can get through this, I'm going to be just fine. And what did I have to lose? I was 31. I was single. I had no family. My only responsibility was me. And I knew I had my reputation. I had my area. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to earn enough money. I'm just going to work even harder. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. I don't need those guys. And so I opened the agency and I just went so hard. I just said, you know what? I'll just work 2 hours harder every single day. And I did that. And I worked so hard. I made minimum 4 hours cold calls every single day. I got out there. I called every person who had ever sold through me, every person that ever bought off me, every person that I'd ever visited their home and they hadn't sold. I got marketing to them. I set up a procedure of continuous touch points with all those people, marketing and everything. And you know what? Listings flowed in just like usual. And you know what? I was fine. I ended up making almost $1 million in GCI in my apartment by myself as the owner, the principal, the admin, the everything. And then I managed to put on staff. And then those agents started to see that the agency was growing over time. And then I moved into a new premises about 1.5 years later. And within 2 years, both of those agents, fortunately, and I still owe them plenty because they're with me today, they joined Plum Property within 2 years. Moral of the story is, like, when shit goes bad, It's all about the mindset. You can get through this. And that was a really, really hard time for me. And I could have just packed it up and said, you know what, this is too hard. Those agents aren't coming on board with me now. I was relying on that. I can't do it by myself. I better stay where I am. I could have done that, but I didn't. I said, I'm going to take this hard road. I'm going to David Goggins this shit, right? What would David Goggins do? Would he quit? Hell no. He'd bitch slap you and say, get back in that office, you little bitch, and run a marathon too. So I David Goggins that shit, and it worked out because I just knew that it was going to be okay. I just work hard, get myself out of it, keep the costs low. That was a very, very hard time, but we got out of it. Let me tell you about another hard time though. Couple years later, right? So we're in business for about 2 years, and at this stage, it was about late 2017, and I just put on 4 staff, right? I was still the only selling principal, and we just got one other salesperson, right? But I was full-time sales. We had one other salesperson that just joined. They hadn't really earned any money yet. We had about 60 rentals. They earned maybe $100,000 in revenue, but we had about $500,000 in wages at the time. And because I was the main source of income, because I was the selling principal, so all my money that I earned on commission just went into the business, paid staff, paid for everything else. I took my little salary, and I had a bad couple of months where near the end of 2017 where I just didn't sell anything. I had a lot of units on the market, and the unit market then really tanked hard. And so I had some listings, but I couldn't sell them. And I went about 2 months where I didn't really make any sales, but I had these listings. And then the money got really tight because I had a couple of payrolls come in. I only had about $100,000 in the bank, and then I had 2 bad months, and all the wages just wiped the bank account to zero. I went into negative $12,000, and then there was another payroll coming up, and I was literally I was out of money. I had no more money left. I had 5 staff. I had 60 rentals. I'm thinking, should I just sell the rentals? That'll cash in $100,000 or whatever that's worth. I could pay just going through my head, what the hell am I going to do? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I withdrew about $35,000 out of my own savings account, put it in the business to pay the next payroll, and I just worked my ass off. And luckily, thank you to the real estate gods, I just worked really hard to get those price reductions on these properties so I could get them sold. Got some price reductions, worked really hard to get every buyer through those properties, and I managed to sell 3 of them in a week. And then I just worked even extra hard to get some more listings. So I managed to sell these 3 to 5 listings. They weren't settling for another 30 days. So I still had this period where there was no money, but I knew money was coming. And then I just worked so hard to get a couple more listings and sell them really quickly. So I was just at the office till 9 o'clock every night, calling everyone I knew. And I picked up a couple of extra listings, and I sold them pretty quickly. And then, so I had about $200,000 coming in about a month's time. So I managed to just pull through that time, just made sure that I didn't spend any money that I didn't need to spend, and just worked on the fundamentals. And finally, those properties started to settle. I was able to get back on track, get some money back into the account. And then, the other agents started selling a bit. I kept working really hard, and then just had a couple of really good months. And then I was just back on track. So just dug myself out of that hole. And I guess the lesson out of that is that it's crazy how hard you'll work when you're about to lose everything, right? Because I was about to lose everything. And it made me go into, fight or flight mode. And obviously I chose, what is it? Was it fight or flight? I was fighting. And I just fought and fought, and I worked as hard as I could. And I obviously, all of that made me heaps more money. So imagine if I worked like that all of the time. Imagine that was a mindset that I was in at that time. I have to do this. I have no choice. And I worked so hard, and I climbed out of this really big hole. Imagine if I did that all the time. I'm a hard worker, but I'm saying that period of time was that extra hard as I possibly can work. Imagine if I work like that or you work like that all the time, how successful you would be. Like, it just goes to show that I'm probably at 70. Like, I work really hard. I really do believe I'm hard. I'm happy, but I'm probably at 70% my capacity. Imagine if you did 100%. How much more successful you would be, right? So, like, what's your capacity? How far can you push yourself to be successful? Right? Is it going to take a time where you're going to lose everything to get to that point? For me, I didn't really know how hard I could work till I was about to lose everything. And now I know that I really am capable of being super, super great and wealthy and have everything I want if I'm willing to go to the 100% level that I'm capable of. Now I'm sitting here admitting that I'm not doing 100% of what I'm capable of. All right. And I would like to get there. I would like to push myself there for periods of time. But how far can you go? Imagine yourself losing everything tomorrow. How hard would you work to get it all back for your family? Work that hard for 3 months, and I guarantee you, your results are going to go through the roof. Hey guys, just quickly, if you're loving this content and you're a real estate agent that's already thinking what it might be like to have your own real estate business and brand, then check out the show notes. There'll be a link to our Plum Partners website where you can leave an inquiry and me or one of my team members will reach out. We help agents to create, run, and grow their own real estate business and brand so they can earn more and set up a better future for themselves. So get keen, get in touch. Now let's get back to the episode. Hard time number 3, right? Employees. This is one of the biggest headaches of being a business owner. I love my employees that are great, which they'll be all in my business right now, the good ones. But there's ones that I've had that have been absolutely atrocious. And a bad employee can fuck up so much and make life so hard. So there's this one time, right? We were back in 2017 again, and we had about 100 rentals at this time, and we had a property manager that was looking after them, and she left and she didn't give us much notice. So Dylan, who's my business owner, he was in property management, but he's got a whole lot of other jobs as well. So he had to suddenly take on these 100 rentals, but we weren't looking after other parts of the business now. And so Dylan needed to look after. So we really needed a property manager. And a recruiter highly recommended this property manager that came in, as they always do. But honestly, this property manager came in, this lady for this job, and the interview was absolutely perfect. This lady was dressed to impress. She looked good. She spoke well. She was bubbly. She was charismatic. Her resume looked great, not jumping around everywhere, seemed to work at various places for long periods of time, which is an important thing. Said all the right things. She walked out of that interview, and me and Dylan were kind of just looking at each other like, oh, we found the one. She looks brilliant. Okay, and this is how fooled you can be at an interview, all right? And this is why I highly recommend checking references, which we did not do. Shoot me for it, okay? Because day one, this lady calls in sick. Oh my God, we are in a really tough moment, right? Day one, this lady calls in sick. 10 minutes after 9 o'clock, she texts us. So 9 o'clock gets here, and then we're like, where's this new person? Did she know she's starting today? 10 minutes after 9. Oh, hey, I'm not feeling that well. I'm not coming in today. But via text. What the hell? That is a really weird way to handle that. Okay, look, benefit of the doubt. She's obviously very good. I would have expected better, but anyway, benefit of the doubt. Day 2, another text. Hey, still not feeling that good. Should be better by Thursday. Okay, right. Just text as well, not even a call, not a drop in, nothing. All right, benefit of the doubt. We're stressed. We're still picking up the pieces. We're getting in there. Thursday rocks up, and she comes in for half a day, and then at 12 o'clock, she says, oh, my child's sick. I've got to go pick her up from school. Oh, okay. So, righto. Well, sick child, got to let her deal with that. Go get your sick child then. So she's done half a day in 4 days so far. We're scrambling. We've got problems coming out every direction with these 100 rentals. And Dylan is struggling. I'm getting pulled into it. Day 5 comes. She shows up at the office with her child. and just didn't ask. And we're only in a small premises, like it's like 50 square meters. And she just shows up with her child, doesn't ask, just walks in with the child, and then has the child sit, brings in a beanbag for the child, and then puts the beanbag next to her desk, and the child sits in the beanbag, who's apparently sick, didn't look very sick, but is apparently sick, and she's sitting there on the iPad in the middle of the room. She gets away. The kid keeps getting up and interrupting her mum, and it was just a big distraction, and it was just like so awkward and weird. And then anyway, we are so stressed by this stage. This lady hadn't even done anything for us for a whole week because she's still trying to learn the systems. She hadn't called any of the owners. She hadn't done any of her jobs. And then like the next week, she just called up and said, "Oh, I've just had a family emergency. I've got to go to New Zealand for a week." And then Dylan got so sick because he was up till like 12 o'clock every night doing all the property management work, doing the accounts, doing the books. And then he got tonsillitis, and then he was wiped out for a week. So then we had no one looking after this property management department for a whole week, and it's just me. And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in property management. I have no experience. I don't know anything. Dylan was like so sick. The only property manager who's meant to be awesome is a complete flop, is on the another side of the world. And then, to top that off, she comes back from New Zealand, and we were livid at this stage with this girl. And, you know, Dylan and I had been writing, like, emails to each other about her, like, not terrible, just like, man, what's going on with this girl? Do you reckon this is real? You know, what are we going to do? We need to have a chat with her when she gets back and things like this. Anyway, like days after she came back and she started settling into the job and she started doing some stuff, me and Dylan were out of the office, and Dylan came back to his computer and noticed that on his email screen, there was an email trail that me and him had been sending to each other in his sent items. So it was in his sent items, and it was on the screen, emails that we had sent each other about this employee. And she was the only one in the office. So she's actually gone onto the owner's computer, gone into his emails, gone to his sent items to look up anything that we had been saying about her while she was gone. So totally untrustworthy as well. That was instant dismissal. That lady was the worst employee I've ever had, and I hope no one ever employs this lady. You're better off just staying at home and being a mum if you're hearing this. Okay? So that was hard time number 2. So my lesson from that hard time about employing people is make sure you always check references, because there's a possibility that if we had have checked references, that we might have got some good advice from other people that maybe this lady was rubbish, because she obviously would have pulled these kinds of things to other businesses. The other thing is, don't just trust a recruiter's recommendation every time. Make the effort, I think, to take the advice of the recruiter, but this recruiter told us she was amazing. And I've had that happen before with other recruiters as well. And they weren't amazing at all. They were nothing like they were supposed to be. I'm not putting shit on recruiters, but a lot of time, like, they're in sales and they need to get a deal done. And sometimes I think they don't always know how good this person is. They just have a feeling, just like we have a feeling in an interview. So references have saved me making some really bad decisions in the past. Always check references. Hard time number 4. Now, look, this is more to do with being a selling agent, and because there's a lot of agents listening to this story, I thought I would share one of my most awful experiences when selling a home, and I would love to hear your awful experience. If you could drop me a comment or share in the comment section a difficult or funny story you've got about a sale. If it's really good, I'll share it on my channel because I love hearing other tales of terrible circumstances in sales. But here's one of mine. So I was selling this house, right? It was kind of like an old colonial 1950s. It had had some, bits and pieces tacked onto it, but it was a really big block. So it had a lot of potential. It was fairly old, but it was kind of beautiful inside, like had those old characteristics. Anyway, it was actually quite hard to sell because it was a pretty quirky house and it had this big drain at the back, which people didn't like the drain. The drain looked dangerous for children, so it put people off. So it was really hard to sell, and I had it on the market for like 3.5 months, and the owners were, really hard to educate to get them down on price, and finally got an offer. And I finally got this thing together after about 3.5 months. It was a torturous sale. It was a torturous negotiation. I finally got it done, right? But it was under conditions of building and pest. So I'm at the building and pest inspection with the buyer and the pest inspector, and he's walking around, and I'm having good chats with the owner, and we're getting along really well, and we're talking about what are the plans for the house and this and that. And after about half an hour, the building inspector, he came into the room, and I said, any issues, see anything wrong? And he goes, oh, look, bits and pieces. I think they've had some termite history here. And I said, oh, okay. And the buyer, he's like, oh, what makes you say that? You go, oh, just I've seen some evidence of. And then the inspector's actually looking at the roof. We're like in the living room, and it was a big living area, right? And we're in the living room. It's an empty house. We're all standing on the carpet in the living room. And the inspector's like, oh, I saw some evidence. And he's looking at the roof, and he's kind of eyeing off the roof. There was like the roof did look a little bit funny, and there was kind of like paint bubbly a little bit in little bits. But it was an old house. Like could have been anything. And he goes, I reckon there's termites up in there. And I went, what? Termites up there? He goes, yeah, I reckon there's been termites right there. And I go, oh, okay. And he goes, I'm just going to check that. And he went and got a spare chair that was out in the kitchen. Gets on his chair. These were quite high ceilings. And he gets his termite stick. You know what they got? The tap, tap, tap stick they like to walk around with. And he goes in this little area on the roof, and he goes, tap, tap, tap. And this big chunk of the roof, like 1 meter by 1 meter, big chunk of roof, just falls out of the ceiling, right? Just bang onto the ground right in front of us all. And all these termites, like I'd never even seen termites before, but they're literally like these big white ants, and they're just running everywhere. And there's like dirt and shit and paint and this crusty wood that's just exploded like a bomb, and all of these termites sort of scourging about everywhere. And the building and pest inspector goes, well, that's not good. I'm standing there like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I didn't even know what to think in that situation. It was just one of those moments where I just went, oh my God, what the hell just happened? And the buyer's standing there with their jaw dropped. They're just like, and the building inspector just said, yeah, you definitely got some problems here. Well, anyway, I walk out of that house, and I'm like, I cannot believe this. I actually felt terrible for the buyer, because, it made me look dodgy a little bit, because I had no idea there's termites in this house. Like, you can't see it. But then when it happens and it's right in front of you, it's kind of like, does the buyer think I knew? I'm thinking that. I'm thinking the poor buyer, excited about this house, and there's this happening. I'm thinking this deal's going to fall over. There's no way this buyer's going to want to buy this house now, because with termites as well, you can't tell without really invasive inspections how far these termites have gone through the house. I'm like, there's no way I'm keeping this together. Anyway, with a stroke of luck, the next day that buyer calls me up and says, mate, I'm still interested in that house, but I'm going to need some money off to pay for the damage and do everything I need to do. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I managed to somehow keep that deal together. I thought that commission was gone. All that work was gone. There was no way I was going to sell that house. And I managed to keep it together for a 30 grand discount. So guys, there's always a way out of these situations, all right? I thought I was done. I thought that money was gone. All that hard work was down the toilet, but I just managed to find a way to explain to the owner, we're going to have to reduce the price. I found a way to show the buyer that this is still a great opportunity for the right price. How can we make this work for you? And I managed to keep that deal together with a 30 grand reduction on the sale price. So there's always a way out, guys. That was my lesson. Don't give up. Those are my hard times in real estate. I would love to hear some hard times from you. Please drop a comment. Let me know if you like this episode or if you'd like more of these episodes. And stay tuned for the next episode of Get Keen, baby. Thank you for tuning into the Get Keen podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please show your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform too. Don't stop there. Join our community of forward thinkers by connecting with me on social media at Dan_Lee_Plum. I'm looking forward to exploring more strategies and insights with you on your journey to the top. Until next time, keep getting keen.